Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. And in this video, I'd like to talk about the rumours and reports that there are growing calls for John Bercow, the Speaker of the House of Commons, to become a caretaker Prime Minister in a government of national unity. But first, if you find yourself enjoying the video, then please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. So, I think this is a fairly mad idea. However, there's a lot of people have for some time been saying on this channel, well, why couldn't John Bercow? He's got cross-party appeal. He's well respected. He could become Prime Minister. And of course, now we've got newspapers saying it. And even then I would have dismissed it, but for the fact you've also got fairly knowledgeable and influential politicians also talking about the same thing. So what I'm going to go through are the three reasons why I think it's a complete non-starter. And what does my head in the most about this is the very first one I'm going to come out with, which is pretty much the killer. And it is this: John Bercow, Speaker of the House of Commons, is Speaker of the House of Commons. That's his position. Yes, he's resigned, but he's still the Speaker of the House and is going to remain so until the end of October. He's got another 31 days in the job. And you can't just really hasten that too easily because he has to be replaced. And you don't want to be rushing that because they need to make sure they get the right person in as the next Speaker of the House. And, you know, there's been a bit of argy-bargy about that already. Very important. He obviously can't be Prime Minister while Speaker of the House, and he can't step down as Speaker of the House without another. You can't just sort of let the Deputy Speaker, because there are Deputy Speakers, let them take over. It's huge. It's arguably, at this moment in time, at this precise moment in time with all this chaos, the position of Speaker of the House is arguably more important than the position of Prime Minister. So that really... No. And the thing is, you think, well, after October the 31st, when he's no longer the Speaker, after October the 31st, we won't need a caretaker Prime Minister. Jeremy Corbyn is all for a general election as soon as we've got the extension. After October the 31st, we've either got the extension or we've revoked Article 50 somehow, or we're out without a deal. Either way, we don't need this government of national unity anymore. It's not happening. Right? Other parties would still want it because what they want before a general election is another Brexit referendum. Reasonably enough, because of course Brexit is a single issue, a general election isn't. A lot of people don't want to make a general election about Brexit again. Apart from anything else, if they do, it is very likely to return yet another hung parliament, possibly even worse than the last time, and a right old mess. It won't solve the problem. Only a referendum will do that. But Jeremy Corbyn's not bothered about that. Obviously, Boris Johnson's not wanting that either. So there will be a general election. If it's not triggered before the end of October, it will be after, which means we'll have a general election late November, early December time, really. The second reason is that the Speaker is apolitical. When an MP who belongs to a party, basically either a Conservatives or Labour by convention, becomes Speaker of the House, they have to leave their party. The Deputy Speakers don't, although they don't get to vote, but they're still members of their party. But the Speaker of the House leaves their party, and they basically leave it forever. They are supposed to step away from politics altogether, be, unpolitical, basically like the Queen. And even when they stop, because you might be thinking to yourself, oh, when they're no longer Speaker, they don't have to do that anymore. By convention, yes, they do. Yes, they tend to be elevated to the House of Lords, and of course they're going to make speeches, they're going to discuss things, but they're not going to be party political. And so that's the situation there, that they're supposed to be apolitical even after they've stopped being Speaker. Now, yes, you could argue in this particular case, it's one of those conventions that's not like a constitutional rule. It is purely a convention. Just like it's a convention that parties do not put up a candidate in the same constituency as the duly elected Speaker of the House. The reason why John Bercow has resigned in the first place, remember, is because Boris Johnson has trampled over that convention, and he said he's going to put a Conservative candidate in his constituency. And that's what prompted John Bercow to resign, so that Parliament can elect a suitable Speaker before a general election happens, rather than risk him losing his seat, because he may still have won the seat, but rather than risk him losing the seat and then a different Parliament selecting a different Speaker, which, I mean, they could anyway when it comes to it. So that's, you know, that's another convention there. And yes, you could argue, well, Boris Johnson has decided to trample over conventions. Why shouldn't the other side? Then you end up in tit for tat, don't you? And you end up going down a place which I don't want the country to go down. And the other reason when we come onto it is because it would be a hugely incendiary appointment, effectively. You know, there's this narrative being run that John Bercow is biased against Brexiteers. This is not true. He has at all times conducted himself according to the wishes of Parliament. Not always the wishes of the government, but it is not for the Speaker of the House to represent the government. It is for the Leader of the House to represent the government, and that at the moment is Jacob Rees-Mogg. And he is doing. John Bercow's job is to represent Parliament. Now, in most times, it means the same thing, because most of the time the government have over half the MPs, and therefore they are both Parliament and the government, effectively, in terms of their control. In which case, you know, the Speaker, it's hard to discern whether the Speaker's working for Parliament or the government. But even then, they're working for Parliament. But in a situation where the government does not have a majority, then obviously the Speaker is going to be making decisions that inevitably the government will not like. Because do you know what? It is now the opposition to the government that controls the House, and therefore the Speaker. However, the narrative is being played that John Bercow is a Remainiac. Well, he is a Remainer, you know, and that he's pushing that attitude and he's frustrating Brexit and all the rest of it. If he were to be appointed to be made Prime Minister and sign the extension that, as far as everyone else is concerned, the rightful Prime Minister, however they come to that conclusion, wouldn't do. They would see it as a coup, which is exactly how Johnson would play it. And it would be very, very divisive in the country. We are very divided in our society, hugely divided. And, you know, people on both sides are saying that those divisions are not going to heal until Brexit's sorted. And yeah, it's not. It's not going to be sorted as soon as it's sorted, as soon as Brexit's done either, one way or the other. But it can't possibly happen until it's dealt with. And in a situation like this, I mean, I'd just worry he makes himself a target. But no. So 3 reasons why I do not believe it could be John Bercow. And the only reason I'm not saying there's no way in hell is simply because quite a lot of people who know better than I do about what's going on with MPs, because they're in direct contact with them or are actually MPs themselves, seem to be treating it with some little credibility. But I don't see how it's possible. But those are my thoughts anyway. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you'd like to support the channel further, then please hit the Patreon link for details. Until next time, I'll see you later.